Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us. My name's Denny Smith. Today is Friday, April 29th, 2022. Joining me on the call today is Steve Mullowney, the Chief Executive Officer of Tanzanian Gold Corporation. Steve joined TRX a little over a year ago in December. He was a partner and managing director at PricewaterhouseCoopers, where he led PwC Canada's Deals Mining Group for more than 10 years. We last spoke with Steve in early January, and in 4 short months, it is now clear that this mine is not only producing gold, TRX is accomplishing its business plan on time and under budget. Listen, before we get to Steve in this discussion, please be aware that in the conversation with him today regarding Tanzanian Gold Corporation, we are not giving anybody investment advice. What we're trying to do is provide a platform for a frank discussion about the company and the opportunities and threats in the current economic and mining environments. But it's very important to remember that your investment decisions are your own, and those investment decisions need to be based on your own personal financial situation and the advice of your accounting and financial advisors. Well, Steve, it's been quite an 18 months for you. I look back at this and I see that we've got the mining equipment and everything built. The first question I have for you, how in the world did you do this so cheaply? I'm looking at, the prices you got for things. If you've got anything to brag about, you're tighter than the skin on a watermelon. How'd you get it done?
Well, thank you again, Denny, for having me here again. It's always appreciated to talk to you. Yeah, it's been a complete whirlwind 18 months and a lot of work. So, yeah, a lot of people ask us the same questions, and a lot of people don't really believe the cost that we're building things for. How did we do it? I think number one is when I came in on board, I did assess talent right across the board at TRX. Changed a lot of talent. That's not really known in the market besides the new people that we've put forward that are on our website and that have spoke about the company. But pretty much the whole management team has been changed both at TRX and at Buckreef itself. So first and foremost, you need to have doers and people who are motivated and people that have experience in doing these things. So, Andrew's done a great job as our COO. Gaston has done a great job as our now general manager at Buckreef. Isaac's done a great job, and Mike has done a great job in the finance function. So it's a coordinated effort, but it also requires taking some risk. So we did order the ball mill prior to developing a full mine plan, given the cost benefit analysis we did in long lead item, and that was on the smaller 360 ton per day plant. But it was really utilizing all of the skill sets of our guys, knowing where to get the suppliers in country, particularly in Tanzania, utilizing local labor, local people, shipbuilders in Mwanza, and pulling it all together and doing it ourselves. So our team has experience building out mining assets, utilizing a lot of local Tanzanian support, and that's how we're able to do it. And we're lucky too. Buckreef is a straightforward from a metallurgy perspective. It's crush, grind, CIL, and luckily we get 90% recoveries.
Let's talk about that asset for just a second. Many of us have been around TRX for some time. If you look back, the asset has always been great, but we just couldn't execute. Is it the new team that's making that happen, Steve? Is it better planning? What is it all of a sudden that we're getting the execution that we'd all prayed for?
Look, you have to have the team to execute it. And you have to have people in this industry with experience, and you have to have people that are willing to get on the ground and get, I like to say, the proverbial get shit done. Don't like to use those type of words, but that's, at the end of the day, you need people to get stuff done.
I'm a plumber's kid. I understand that really well.
Exactly. So, look, I've been to Tanzania too many times over the last year. I track this very closely. I've had experience in a lot of processing plants, even though my background is as a chartered accountant. I have been through a lot of processing plants and ripped them apart and put them back together. I've been through a lot of mining plans and block models. Our team has all of those relevant experience. When I joined, I knew this asset can get into production fairly quickly. It's just a matter of getting a little bit of capital and getting it going, and finding the right people to help you do it. And that's what we've done. I think it's a testament to the team to be able to do this as quickly as they have. A lot of people don't believe it, to be quite honest, but we're starting to reproduce it. We're starting to put it out in the press, and you're seeing it in our financial results.
Steve, I know you're a Canadian and you probably didn't have to take U.S. history, but we had a president around the 1900 era by the name of Teddy Roosevelt. And President Roosevelt had a lot of sayings. One of them was, "The fish stinks from the head down," which was a manager's nightmare, because if he was really good, he was considered a good fish, and if he was really bad, he was thrown out in the trash. And Roosevelt ran his administration that way. But he also had this saying, "Walk softly and carry a big stick." I have not heard you loudly proclaiming any promotional documents about the mine. You've been very, very quiet, but you have done realistic promotion. You want to give me a little bit of that philosophy from your part, because what we see is a first-class mine, and we keep waiting for not bombastic advertising, but some pretty good promotion. Tell me your philosophy on that.
Yeah, so Denny, integrity is key to me. I take my reputation extremely seriously, and one of the things is I'm new to the asset. I knew it had from what I researched when I came in, that it had a great backbone to be a great mining asset. But it takes time to learn an asset, and it takes time to develop a business plan around an asset, and it changes. So yes, Buckreef is a great asset. It's into production quickly. There's a lot of resources in the main zone. We've thankfully discovered a new zone in Anfield. Once we finish land compensation, we will start to drill that out. We have a new zone in Buckreef West. We'll soon start condemnation drilling across the entire SML in various spots. And, there's the probability that we'll find even more zones. It's a fairly, really good prospective area. There's not a lot of areas like this in the world. But in promotion, I take the view that, yes, the asset is great, but you have to execute in order to promote. And so I like to promote through the execution of what I'm doing. You will hear from me what I'm going to do and what I think we can do. And then we're going to go ahead and execute it and be fair and honest with people. And the execution over time will promote the property. And it's through that execution, and that's the team that we have in place. I empower that team to go ahead and do that execution. I'm a firm believer that in order to build your reputation and integrity, in order to deserve the promote, you have to execute.
Steve, I've been watching carefully as you have added personnel. You've added accounting staff or a controller there in Tanzania. Tell me why and what the result of that has been.
Yeah, so look, even when you're looking at what you see in the public realm, there's a lot of financial numbers. And if you look at our financial statements last year, and I would encourage everybody to do that, go back to Q1 2021 and look at Q1 2022. You'll notice a lot of things have changed. The notes to the financial statements are a lot skinnier. We haven't bragged about this too much. There's no longer a going concern note in our financial statements, which means the auditors are now comfortable that we're going to survive and thrive. And it's not easy to convince them and take out going concern notes. There is no disputes or past due payments. All those sort of things have been removed from the financial statements. And the next thing we need to do is make sure that when we report the right numbers. and we report accurate numbers. And so it's important as you transition from an explorer call where everything is bumped into a balance sheet account, into income statement accounts, and they're segregated properly, that you have the proper finance staff. And also, there's been a legacy control note, and it takes time to remove control notes. So you need a good controller. That starts at the CFO level with Mike, right on down through the finance function, in putting in place those controls. And we're working on that. The first thing I did was put in place cash controls, and we still do that. We approve all expenditures that go through this organization on a weekly and biweekly basis. So, cash is king in the control framework. But also there needs to be control frameworks around fuel reconciliation, geological reconciliation from your block model through to your grade control model, right on through to what the mill processes. And all of those things have been implemented, and it takes time to remove that controls note. But you need good finance staff because you need the right numbers. And I'll add to that is there's a significant part of the market in trading and in value that just take what comes out of your financial statements. So we want to make sure that those numbers are correct. We're now into revenues and into great gross profits of well over 55%. And we hopefully will start to see the algos and the quants trading us differently. Because if you look at the historical numbers, they're not that great. The numbers are improving quite quickly.
We call those notes on the financial statements the Maalox factor. You and I both grew up as accountants and as bean counters, if you will. We watch those very, very carefully, and there is a level of anxiety every time you read them. The going concern removal was a big one for me. The second one was, I'm seeing an income statement, brother. I mean, for goodness sakes, I actually called Mike and said, is this really an income statement I'm looking at? I said, we've made the jump from exploratory to a producing mine. That's a big, big step, Steve.
Yeah, Denny, the important part here is to take it a reflection. So a lot of people will come out and say, oh, you're only doing 750, 800 ounces a month. But look at the cash cost of that without economies of scale yet. At just in under $800 an ounce at Buckreef. Look at the gross profit margins that are generated at that level of production. So, we'll start to see this happen in the fall, and the financial statements in the fall. What happens when you triple that?
It's magnificent, and all that falls to the bottom line. So if you have gross margins above 50%, you've got something special. And in the gold mining industry or in the mining industry, it's almost unheard of. So, yeah, you can pat yourself on the back with the three elbows on that one arm. We're coming into a period of time where building a sustainable business which can self-fund value creation activities of resources and production expansion might take a little bit more capital. And what we have seen is that the small caps have traditionally been hammered with high interest rates, and it appears that we're moving into one of those eras of high and probably increasing interest rates. How is TRX positioned in this sort of environment, Steve?
Yeah, it's a good question, Denny, because when I came on board, I was there. How do I create a business plan that enables this company to survive and then sets the setting for it to thrive? And Buckreef is different, given that the oxide resources come to surface and it can go into production. And so what I'll say is the North American model of just raising big amounts of capital and doing your drilling and having a big project with a big NAV. The finance markets are there, particularly on the banking market, to fund those. We have an opportunity here to develop something of the traditional mining model, which is start small, grow it, and continue to grow it. So now that we get our cash flow going, the key here is the growth expansion in resources and reserves will come through the cash flow that is generated from the asset and reinvested back in the ground through exploration, as well as figuring out how we build this out to be even more profitable and with a higher production rate going forward. And all of that is in development. So if you look at what I've been saying is, first, I want to see growth through the drill bit. Then I want to see production growth as well. And that is what's going to be at play over the next 12 to 18 months. And I look very excited for it because the company now has been stabilized. The asset is producing cash flow that is being expanded. We will get into commercial production after we expand our plant here over the next couple of months. That is well underway. All the long lead items have been ordered. Some of them are on property. The pads are going down. The engineering has been done. The geotech work has been done, and that is moving along very quickly. So once we get to that point, we'll be a different sort of junior in which we'll fund our growth through cash flow coming out of the ground. A lot of people have tried it in the past, unsuccessfully, by the way, but Buckreef will get there.
Let's talk about one of the elephants in the room, and that is we have legacy stockholders who've been invested in TRX for several years, and their patience has been pretty thin. I think that their patience is being rewarded. We are mining, we are drilling, we are producing gold, and from everything that I can read and discuss with you all, the prospects really and truly have never looked better. Am I over-assessing this, or is that fair?
When you look back at history, investments need to be made at a certain point in time. My investment personally was made when I joined the company in my career. And so I thank historical stockholders for their patience. I believe that we now have the team and the capability and the asset to be able to really start moving Buckreef quickly. I know financial markets, they move up and down, back and forth. Right now, small caps are not the flavor of the month. But I think you can take some solace in the fact that the asset has been stabilized. It is producing enough cash flow to expand itself. And even in these types of financial markets, the auditors have removed that going concern note. I think there's a lot of great things to come for Buckreef going ahead. I'm very excited for it, to be quite honest. I think the hardest part of my job has been done, which is to recapitalize the asset and to put a firm footing in place for it to thrive.
Well, all I can say is for 18 months, you've done really, really impressive work. Steve, thanks for taking time to speak with us today, and just know that we wish you the very best in the years to come. My guest today has been Steve Mullowney, the Chief Executive Officer of Tanzanian Gold Corporation. For further information about TRX and the properties they control, please visit the website at tangoldcorp.com. My name's Denny Smith, and thanks for listening.